40, you get dry mouth real quick.
Mm-hmm. Hello, testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Hello, hello, hello.
Let us know, man. We are ready to go. Oh, power hands ready to go, man.
Mic check, mic
You don't
check.
gotta test us twice.
Mic check.
Ready. Let's say welcome Indian country.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, hey, welcome Indian country. Thank you for tuning in here for our live webcast this week here on In the Spotlight with RG. All right, we say welcome to each and every one of you. Tie your horse up out there by the sweat. Come on in and take your moccasins off at the door. And there's tea and soda and grape Kool-Aid and cookies and cake in there. Make yourself at home, guys. All right, we say welcome. And I'd like to apologize real quick here for last week. You know, we had did a live stream there in Carnegie, Oklahoma, Carnegie Doll, as we like to say around here. And we did our live stream, turned out really good. But we had to go off the air before the while the live stream was going on, the live digital recording of the 49 singing. So we couldn't interfere with that. So that's why we went off. So we just wanted to. Yeah, we wanted to save that up for the singers, the benefit of the singers, and we didn't want to go into their part, their section of the digital recording. So that's why we went off air last show. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in once again, and welcome. And you know, the original theme, I guess you could say, ideal. We were talking about me and Everett Moore there, and we were of more multimedia, and we were talking about. A show that we could do, and we wanted to bring some dancers in the spotlight and talk to dancers, you know, originally about what it feels like to be in the spotlight, you know, what it feels like to have that adrenaline, you know, be out there in front of everybody and talk to them and let them know, you know, hey, how do you feel about this? How do you prepare for that? And then as the show got going there and as we got to talking, you know, we thought, shoot, we'll bring everybody into the spotlight. You know, there's a lot of native people out there who's doing a lot of different things and deserve to be in a spotlight too, not just dancing-wise, but with education and their jobs that they're doing out there. And so really, really glad to have a guest here tonight at our show here in the spotlight with RG, a good brother of mine. And I'd like to bring him to the mic here and like to introduce my brother here, Orrenzo Snyder. Welcome there, brother.
Thank you, RG. I appreciate it, and it's good to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm enjoying this so far.
All right. Yeah, brother, I felt like we did a show already, boy. You got here kind of early, you know, and my, I better say this so I won't get in trouble. Today is my wife's birthday today, y'all.
Happy birthday, Joyce.
Joyce, Nebuchadnezzar Harris. Happy birthday. All right. And I won't say how old she is. I think she's 19, I believe.
Yeah, there you go. Be careful.
She's
there. 19,
I believe. And we decided, you know, and she didn't want to have anything, but we decided to have a meal, and Orrenzo and his family got here early, so
a good meal. Good meal.
We went ahead and ate a little bit, and you know, we had some beans and ham hocks. God, you people from down this way know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and then we had roast and potatoes, you know, and man, it was good.
It was really good, and we're saving the cake.
Oh yeah, we haven't had cake yet, but we're gonna have that after the show. Yeah, Renzo, I want you to know that a lot of people, you know, are don't realize, you know, what you do.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it either, and that's why we wanted to have to bring in different people in the spotlight.
Yeah.
And showcase not just their dancing, but showcase what they do as an occupation.
Yeah.
You know, and I know you told me that you was at the University of Utah for your biology degree.
That's correct.
And then from there, you know, you went on to the University of Iowa in 4 years for a medical school there, 4 years.
Yeah.
And then surgical residency there another 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, man, I tell you what, that's it's like winning the world championship about 10 years in a row. They're going to school and studying, you know. And
close.
And, you know, it's I want you to later on talk about, you know, sometimes when we do things, we got to sacrifice, you know, sacrifice our time, sacrifice our bodies as dancers to dance and run and jog and eat the right foods, you know, and go to bed early, you know. and them kind of things. And maybe you could share some of the sacrifices you had. As
Yes.
I know there's times you wanted to go to a powwow or go here or go there, but you had to stay and go to school.
Yeah. And when I was at the University of Iowa for that 10 years, a lot of demand on our time. But it'd be 40-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks. But there were weeks where you got burnt out. And you just needed a break, So Friday, 5:30, 6 o'clock came around, and I'd look at my wife, Cheryl, and the car would be packed already. And, boy, we'd jump in that car, and we'd try to get somewhere for a grand entry. And even during that time, we traveled a lot to powwows or back home for a ceremony when we could, things like that. So our priorities were always do something, because just doing one thing, you got burnt out, things like that. So I had to keep a balance. And I think that's what I learned is when you're walking two worlds, that white world, the medicine world, Western medicine world, and then my native world, my cultural world, my traditional world, you had to learn and you had to keep that in balance, things like that. And so, but that was part of that harmony that I was trying to establish in my life, my wife's life, my kids, and we talk about harmony, keeping balance like that, always like that with our kids, and that's how we live, So, but yeah, it was so important to us. Sometimes we just had to go. Yeah. But there are other times when you're on call or you had to do things and you had to sacrifice, and later we could go, but not right now. Yeah.
And that mirrors dancing in a way, when I hear you talking about the balance, and the harmony, and I know a lot of the dancers, talk about doing something to the left, doing something to the right, forward and backwards, that's the way it is, I don't know if a lot of people realize, not trying to talk about myself or anything, but, I coached high school basketball for 20 years, and made a lot of historical, goals, I guess you might say, and then coached for 20 years, and then also played basketball, played college ball, and a lot of people might say, well, I didn't believe you were smart enough to go to school, I wasn't, but I was a good basketball player, and that kind of
carried you through.
Carried me through there, But that's why we wanted to bring you on, is to let people know, you're not only a good champion grass dancer, you hold a very, very important job there in the medical world. You're a surgeon, and might tell us about some of the surgery that you take care of.
Yeah. I first started Indian Health Service. They gave me a scholarship to go to a medical school. And so when I came out, I had to give time back, year for year, they called it. So I spent time in Tuba City, Arizona, Anchorage, Alaska, all with the Indian Health Service. And then after that, then I started setting up my own practice, or I was employed in different places, things like that. But I do a lot of kidney stone surgery, prostate surgery, sometimes leaky bladders. I take care of those. I take care of low testosterone patients. And then do a lot of cancer screening or health screening for men, things like that. And so that's become a focus of mine here lately, was to focus on men's health. Sometimes we pay a lot of attention to our families or to women's health, but what gets left behind is that men's health piece, things like that. So I've been starting to develop that more.
Oh, yeah. So. Speaking of the cancer screening, you might want to talk about some of the things you got going there with that.
Sure.
How it's going to benefit a lot of our people, if they just listen.
Yeah. Over in Lawton, Oklahoma, I'm working with the Cancer Center, and they have a program for first responders. And they screen for cancers at different ages, 20 all the way 30, 40, 50, like that. And they do CT scans, physical exam, labs, and it's for all the first responders. And they get exposed to certain chemicals, things like that with their work, that they start screening them. For smokers, they're screening for lung cancer. In your 20s, it's probably testicular cancer that we're screening for. So self-examination every month is very important for men. In your 30s, it's still testicular cancer, but maybe kidney cancer starts creeping in there. Maybe colon cancer. In your 40s, for sure, colon cancer. Maybe a little bit early for prostate cancer. But in your 50s, that's when prostate cancer screening comes in, colon cancer comes in. If you're a smoker, lung cancer. And then 55, 60, you start looking at skin cancer, things like that. So it's all the way through life, different stages. You're going to be exposed to different things. And so you screen accordingly. Yeah. So there are recommendations based on your age, what you get screened for. Okay. So that's how that goes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things, information good to know,
Yeah.
And because a lot of times, we don't want to find out too late.
Yeah.
And then we're fighting an uphill battle there. That's good to know. And I know we talked about it, in the Grand Entry line there one time in Oklahoma City, I believe it was. And like I say, if there's anything, I can help you with, and come over and speak or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll come over and try to get people involved, and you said a lot of it's free,
It is, yeah. For the first responders, there's grants available, especially through Oklahoma Trust and the Cancer Center, where it's free. And I talked to the director, and they're going to offer the cancer screening program to Native men for free as well. And they also want to include Native women, so it would include our families. But my approach is going to be men's health first. To me, if we focus on men, nobody does that. Stronger men lead to stronger families. That'll lead to stronger Indian communities, and that's how I look at it. But the families will come as well as part of that. Yeah. So
it's good information. Yeah, we gotta keep ourselves strong. We gotta be there because growing up, myself, I was didn't really think about getting old. And just thought I was Superman and thought I could go somewhere and dance 14 songs and not get tired. Most time I did.
Right.
But as you get older, you want to get well, and you want to be there for your family. Not only your family, your companion, but your children, now grandchildren.
Yeah.
So we want to be around for a long time, and be there for our families. Yeah. And then there's another topic we'd like to bring up too there, brother, that I got to be a part of a couple of years ago, and it was let the people know about it, healing the spirit.
Yeah, we run a nonprofit. It's called Healing the Spirit Productions, and I think Everett was going to put up a QR code so people can just kind of go to that. But just for information, it's a nonprofit. Our focus is to bring cultural programming to our communities. A lot of us live in urban settings and don't have access to our traditional ceremonies sometimes, so we have to bring those forward sometimes, kind of like the round dance, bringing it to Lawton that one time. And we want to keep that going. But also our focus is on men's health, and that's where the cancer screening program comes in. But also cardiovascular health. It's the number one killer of all men across the country. Cancer is second. Accidents are third, things like that. So we still want to deal with high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes screening, and those are just as important. And so we'll deal with some of that within Healing the Spirit Productions, things like that. My two daughters, Shundeen and Shayna, are helping me run that. And right now they're fundraising for a round dance that we want to hold for NCAI. But also they're fundraising for a possible golf tournament, native golf tournament actually in Pechanga in January, things like that. So we'll get some programming started and move that forward.
Wow.
Yeah. So
shoot, that'd be good. I know on the first annual Healing the Spirit Round Dance, man, we had a tremendous turnout. And I was kind of worried about it at first because round dancing down here in the South is nobody's really done it before,
Yeah.
And so, you came down, and I think my brother Harvey Drever came down, and then brother Randy Pascaman, and we had a really, brother Bart there, and we had a really tremendous head staff, and boy, I think a lot of people came out of curiosity, maybe, and a lot of people showed up, and man, we had a wonderful time that night, man.
It was outstanding.
We started out with the prayer, like we do, and then we had some round dance, and at midnight, we had a feed, and we kept dancing some more, and oh man, it was good.
Yeah, I've used Randall Pascaman, Harvey Drever for some years. Originally, I used Randy Wood, but we fashioned the round dance after the Crees and how they run round dance, and it is for grieving families, for those in mourning, and it is a ceremony, so we run it just in the winter only. So we pay a lot of respect to the ways that I learned and I was taught, and we always have our Cree folks come, and my brothers and my sisters, they come and they help us with that. And Harvey Drever helped us with a pipe ceremony, you know, things like that, and set that mood for us. But we had that night, not only you and Bart as MCs, but we had 5 other MCs drop by, and I noticed that, and so I put them to work, you know, and I say, hey, can you speak for what do we have? A bunch of contests, biggest earring or best skirt, best shirt. Had them speak on that, and then we had somebody speak for the midnight meal for grieving families, and I put all 5 of them to work. I remember that, and you guys kept running it smooth, and boy, before we knew it, it was 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
but it was wonderful.
Yeah, when I seen all the MCs show up, you know, I thought, oh wow, then you put them to work, and we're doing this, we're doing that, and I was like, man, this is.
It was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
We had a good time that night, and we're gonna get that going again, huh?
Yes,
brother?
we want to do that again
here.
this winter. We like to hit leap year. But we want to do it more than once every 4 years.
Yeah.
But the last one was on leap year. I remember it was the last American round dance in the U.S. right before COVID shut us all down. Yeah. But we want to get it going again and get the round dance going again in Lawton. So we'll bring that forward.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a kind of a special day in our family around here. You know, my grandmother, the late Mabel Harris, you know, that was her birthday. Leap year, you know.
Leap year, yeah.
And she'd always say, yeah, Sonny, today's my birthday. I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, I'm only 16, you know, times 4.
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah,
all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
I get
yeah.
it now, you know. Grandma, you're not that young.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, that was her birthday. So it's kind of a special time for us, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's really good there, brother. You know, and going back to swinging back to the powwow side there, you know, you're a champion grass dancer too there, brother. You know,
Yeah.
I see a lot of grass dancers, you know, throughout my travels, you know, and I've been on the powwow trail about 60 years now, and I see a lot of grass dancers, and I really like your style of dance, you know. And,
Thank you.
And what are some of the things that you think about or pray about before you go in the arena?
A lot of my teachings are balanced. You know, what you do on one side, you tend to incorporate and do on the other side, and that's my style. But that's how I was taught. That's how I was trained. That's how my teachings are. But also just running and having health and having the energy and stamina to finish a song. And you might get a second song, a third song, a fourth song. You might be in a special where you get 7 songs all at once, and you have to be strong enough to endure. But I always dance for others, you know, the ones that can't dance, or the ones that are sick, or the ones that are grieving, or if my mom's going through a hard time when she was alive, or my dad needs a special prayer, you know, he's just sad, you know, and I'll pray for him, and I'll dance for him. So in a way, when I dance, I'm praying, you know, like those steps and the patterns that I make on Mother Earth, that's a form of prayer for me. And so that has a special meaning. And so even though there may be contests going on, I have a purpose. Yeah. And that purpose dominates, and it's more important than the contest, you know, sometimes. So that's why sometimes I don't get upset if I don't place, because there was a purpose for me to be out there. Yeah. And that's how I look at it. Yeah. Yeah. So
there's, you know, some people have asked me, you know, hey, RG, what do you think about before you go out there, you know, and I tell them, I share a little bit, but on the really, really side that, you know, I think about, you know, it's kind of, it's almost a spiritual thing, you know, when you go out there, because, you know, you think about some of the folks out there, you know, maybe you might see a old dancer out there, old guy, you know, in a wheelchair. You know, see some old people walking with a cane, you know, and you remember when they used to be young, you know. And or maybe you see somebody out there, like you said, you know, that's in mourning, or just a lot of different things, you know. And you start thinking about, and my late father used to say, you know, when if you can dance, and when you come off that dance floor, the ultimate compliment is somebody come up and shake your hand. Hey, son, boy, you sure made me feel good. You know? I'm going through this, you know, but therefore, one song, you know, hey, it made me feel good, you know. And that's kind of what we dance for.
I look forward to a song that will just carry me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always look forward to that. And it happens every once in a while where I don't remember the beginning. All I know is I stopped,
Mm-hmm.
and I may not remember that song, what I did, what moves I did,
Mm-hmm.
and you get carried by that song, And for me, I look for that. That's that spiritual
Yeah.
message, or that way I want to be.
Yeah.
As I look forward to that a lot.
Yeah.
So
That's the way it is. When you hear that good song, boy, you just where'd the time go?
Yeah.
Man, I was just doing
it's
that.
over before
Yeah,
you
and
know it.
somebody will ask me, "Hey, what about that one movie you did?" And I'll tell my wife, I don't even remember doing that movie. You just get caught up in the song, and a lot of times some of the songs you hear, you know them, and you know what they mean, what
Yeah.
they're singing about.
Yeah.
That's even better.
That's even better.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you think about that, while you're dancing,
Yeah.
that song's talking about the horse,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
doing this, and
Mhm.
trying to imitate that horse,
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's right on there, brother. And, hey, well, we got a little break here. MHM Roofing and Solar, that's based out of Oklahoma City, and one of our sponsors here. And for all your roofing needs, call 405-440-0414. Once again, MHM Roofing and Solar. I need some of that help right now at my house back home in Stroud, Oklahoma. But yeah, so that's one of our sponsors here, and I know we're going to have some more come up here, in the future, and be sure and get in contact with us and let us know, and jump on board here. And brother, while we're talking about dancing and music here, let's get into powwow.
All right. All right.
We were talking about that earlier, and I was telling my my wife and my family here. I said, my cable got shut off here, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm got real expensive, and then my daughter said, "Hey, Dad, you got a smart TV," and I was like, "What?" And she said, "I can hook up Wi-Fi to it." I said, "Really?" And so she hooked it up, and man, I tell you, I'm hooked on the Wi-Fi, man. Live streaming. Dang. Oh, that one weekend also. I think we stayed home 2 weekends all summer. And that one weekend we stayed home. And I think my daughter Ashley was up in Mandry, I think. And Amanda and Ev, they were in New York. And then our son Ronnie Harris III, he was up in Alberta. And that one night we went to 3 powwows, brother. God dang. She was in Mandry for a while. And we switched over and we was in New York and watching our children contest. Then we switched up to Alberta and watched a chicken dance special. And man, about 1 o'clock, we turned it off. I told my wife, God, I felt like I've been to powwow tonight, boy. I went to 3 powwows in one night, boy. North Dakota, New York, and Alberta. Oh man.
Dang.
Yeah, shoot. Woo. Yeah, it's pretty
awesome.
good, And while I was doing that, you get to notice things, in the powwow world sometimes when you're sitting in the back and watching. And I was watching some of the powwows and how they were being run, and thinking about how we were taught,
Yeah.
as I guess you might say we're elders, but it all came down to respect.
Yeah.
It all boiled down to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would see sometimes different MCs, talking. And they were kind of just, running the show almost.
Yeah.
And the arena director's kind of getting pushed to the side there, or vice versa,
Yeah.
And I was always taught, growing up, that the guys that run that arena are the arena directors.
Yeah.
They're the boss.
Yeah.
And then, like down here in the South, you have a head singer. And still, the arena directors are in charge of that arena. That's their arena. And the becoming an announcer now, we've worked through Tiny Tots. We've been Tiny Tots.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been juniors and we've been teens, Now we're golden age, and now we're starting to be arena staff. And I've noticed that a lot of times some of the MCs, they forgot about who's running the show out there, you might say. And
I see that. I see some MCs just not run the schedule, run the program, and keep people informed and run the schedule, if you will. But also they'll say which category is next and which drum will sing next, or they'll bring up an elder to speak and then go into something different from the schedule, and so it gets really erratic, and there's some disarray that goes along. Everybody gets lost.
Yeah.
And if there's some respect there, then the arena is run by that arena director. He may have a head man judge, a head lady judge, a drum judge, but they work together.
Yeah.
and they run that floor, and they have a pattern of how to use drums, northern, southern, Canadian. If you have a host state drum within the state, like a host Iowa drum we used to use, things like that. But you use all the drums. Everybody wants to sing. That's why they came. They all have something to bring. But also the dancers want to dance to the best music. But I think everybody has to have respect for one another. You dance to the drum that you're assigned to, and you're going to get a good song from them. The best that they can deliver is what you're going to get, and you do the best you can, and some people say it's drum versus dancer, things like that. But the way we look at it, that song is carrying a spiritual message and a prayer, and however it starts and stops, and you mirror it, then you might match just right. But even if you don't, then there's a purpose for you to misstep or to say your prayer a certain way because somebody needed that misstep to help them in their lives, and things like that. So I still feel like even though you're running the arena, there can be some care and respect to how people are perceiving the dance or the song, things like that. And so, but there's got to be respect. There's got to be a cooperation. And sometimes you see that missing, and especially in the bigger powwows and people that work together, they get used to each other, and then another person's already guessing what they're going to do next, and then there's discord because of it, things like that. So we do see that, and I think it comes back to respect. I think you're right, brother.
Yeah, yeah, and it's in being an MC now, I always try to inform everybody and get them in a groove there, These next three categories are coming up, these next three drums are coming up. That's how we're going, and then once they finish, and then here's the next three categories, and here, get everybody in a rhythm.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets comfortable. It seems like you can feel it, as an MC.
Yeah.
You can feel it. Everybody's calm, and a lot of times when you're MCing powwows and you've done it 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years in a row, people get comfortable with you, And then when somebody else comes on the microphone, everybody's,
oh, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? Who's this guy right here?
Yeah.
So it's like that. And you get people in a rhythm. I try to get them in a rhythm,
Yeah.
I try to keep the dancers satisfied, and especially the singers.
Yeah.
The singers are they're the most important part of powwows.
That's right. That's right.
They travel and they come over there and they got songs, that they want to sing, and we'll always try to accommodate the singers and acknowledge them and give them opportunities.
I got 2 questions for you guys.
Yep.
Yes.
You guys can maybe Renzo go first, just about what you guys were talking about. You said every now and then a drum can really make you have that feeling where you almost lose yourself. I'd like to know what drum does that, what type of song, straight, old style, and then RG talking about the songs and stuff like that you guys have been through. Maybe talk about what's good fancy dance music, because I know a lot of times songs are changing now, but what's a good fancy dance? And maybe Renzo, you could go first. And then
Yeah.
go ahead.
For me, it's grass songs, grass dance songs, and a lot of them are songs that maybe I grew up with from the 80s and 90s. So when I hear those songs, it just takes me back to that time when I was younger. But their tempo, I think a lot of it has to do with tempo for me. Like medium slow, not too slow. Although back in the day, man, they used to rim it and they used to go real slow, and you'd have to go what they call down on the ground, things like that. But anymore, it's kind of a medium slow tempo for maybe 2 starts. And one of my favorite drums is the Boys, because they do it just right, man. Then they pick it up just right, but not too fast. It's just a higher beat, things like that. And boy, it brings out that feeling. And then not only just the vocables, but then they throw the words in there, and it might be Sioux, or it might be Ojibwe, or occasionally a Navajo song will come along, things like that. There's not very many of them, but you listen to those words, and if you know the meaning of those, they're talking about the grass and how they flow, or somebody that needs to be healed, or maybe just walking in balance, or just being strong. dancing with strength so that you can heal those families, things like that. Different meanings to those songs. If you know the meaning, that's going to carry you. But for me, it's the tempo. And even if there's a miss beat or somebody's off lead, I don't notice that. But the tempo is so important to me, and I think they call them necklace breakers, and they go super fast, and that's really popular right now. The faster the song, the better the powwow goes. We want a 2-minute song. We want a minute 30. I don't believe in that. I don't like those. I'm breathing real easy through those songs, and I don't get tired with a fast song. And at the end, sometimes I want to feel exhausted, that there was a purpose to that song. And so give me a 4-minute song, give me a 4.5-minute song. I'm okay with those, so, but the tempo for me is very important in grass.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of drum groups back in the 80s, that, oh, man, you didn't get tired, man. You didn't get tired. And on the fancy dance side, I tell you, one of my favorite drum groups, well, there's about 3 or 4. Let's see, there's my drum group. No,
that'd be 5.
Yeah, that'd be 5, man. Add that on, that's 5. One of my favorite drum groups, and that goes right into what you're talking about, brother, is tempo, man. And I always liked Mandarin, and even before, they were my in-laws, man, Mandarin, man. Because you knew that fancy dance song was going to be peppy,
Yep.
And, man, it fit right with the style of dance, fancy dance. And I always liked Mandarin. And one story I always tell people real quick is, oh, man, I don't know when it was, back in the 90s. We were at Rocky Boy, me and my wife, and our children were probably in their 9, 10, 11 years old, and they're 30 now. So anyway, we went to Rocky Boy, and I won over there, and they said Thursday night they're having a fancy dance special in Newtown. 500 and a set of hackle bustles. 500 back then.
That's a lot of money.
So we went over there Thursday night, and it was cold, man. It was, after we danced 4 or 5 songs, and steam was coming up our heads, and we could see, we looked like bulls out there.
Yeah.
And we danced 9 songs there, and the family got together, and when they gather up, you're going to get another one,
Yeah.
I was going, no, man, she lines it up. I'm not going to do anything different on the 10th song that I did on the last
9
stepping song, I wasn't going to do it over again. So sure enough, the family wants one more song, and that was 10. I was like, oh, man, no. And they said, Mandarin. I looked over there, and me and the late Bill Baker, we looked at each other, and he just gave me the thumbs up like that, And I thought, what does that mean, But when that song started out, and this was back in the day when Southern music really wasn't up north, and Mandarin, darn if they didn't sing a polka ruffle dance song.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And he knew that I knew that song, and I didn't know he knew that song. And they sang that ruffle dance song for the 10th song. And I was the only one that stopped on time, man. I was like, all right. Shit, man. He hooked me up, man. So I won 500 that night and a set of hackle bustles. And oh, man. So, I went back and gave him some money,
Yeah.
Later on, bought him some dinner and stuff like that, repay,
Oh, yeah.
Like that. Maintain the balance,
Yeah.
It's like the dancing reflects life, my father told me, what you do to the left, do to the right, and do things. You receive something good in the arena, and
pay it forward.
Pay it back, to somebody, That was one of the things I did when I was traveling, a lot on the road is when I would get close to home, I would always stop by one of my grandma's or grandpa's home, and I would take over 2 or 3 sacks of groceries, and maybe $100,
Yeah.
And I'd tell them, hey, guys, here's some money. I had good luck.
Yeah.
I had good luck, and
I'll tell you a story. I think we were in Hinckley one time way back in the day, and there was a champion dancer out of Rocky Boy, and a champion dancer, older guy in his 70s, white hair, everything, came down from Canada, and it was a veteran special, and there was probably 40 or 50 of us, and they had us dance 4 or 5 songs, then they picked 10, then they had us dance about 3 or 4 more songs, and Mandarin was over there singing them songs, and then it went down to top 6, top 3, and we kept going. The 3 of us were standing up there, And boy, that old man kept going. And sure enough, that last Mandaree song, we all got it. But, man, he stuck it.
Wow.
And he won, and he took home first. And me and that other champion dancer, Rocky Boy, we just acknowledged him.
Yep.
Consolation was all right for us. But,
Yeah.
man, we enjoyed Mandaree. And that tempo,
Yeah.
it carried us. Every
Yeah.
song. Every song carried us.
You
It
didn't
was
get
so
tired, man.
nice. Nope. You don't get tired.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and there was some drum groups here in Oklahoma, and one of the drum groups I liked, of course, was Yellowhammer.
yeah.
They sang good. The polka drum, they sang good fancy dance songs, And then another drum group that my late uncle there, that he was the lead singer there, the late Jack Enque,
Yeah.
and
Grey Horse. Grey Horse. Yeah.
Man, those guys sang some
Yeah.
songs that were made just for fancy dance, I think.
Yeah.
Man, he made you look good. Oh, man.
Yeah.
He made you look good. And one time we were at this one powwow, and he called me over, and he said, "Hey, Steggies, I got a new song." He said, "We ain't even sang it." And so he sang it to me. And I said, "Oh, wow." He said, "I'm getting ready to sing it next, I was like, "Really?
Here it comes.
Sing it again. I'm trying to learn that song, And he sang it to me. And sure enough, man, there was the finals, and they sang that for the fancy, And I stopped on time, And everybody was mad at me because
you knew
over
it.
there talking.
'Cause you knew it.
Yeah, I knew that song,
My
But those drum groups that made songs for that category, man,
Yeah.
you didn't get tired.
we had my brother that adopted me, Frank Sinacci.
Mhm.
We were at University of Iowa, and we'd have a host Iowa drum, a host Northern drum, host Southern drum, host Canadian. And his favorite drum outside of the local drums was Kozad.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a cassette tape. And he put it in for me, and we listened to it. And some of the fastest songs back then were Kozad songs. You don't sing them like they used to because they were fast. They were fast songs, and those rockers were really going. But once we got a hold of that tape and I listened to it, then we called up Kozad, and they came and hosted for us, at the University of Iowa. And that's where I knew the late Larry Kozad and Mabel, and just missed them dearly, but they're my all-time favorite Southern drum is Kozad, but they're like family to me because of how they carry their music, how they carry that drum, and how they carry it forward. But it really was because of Larry Kozad.
Yeah, he was a good singer, man. He was just real different voice,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's songs I liked, were when you drew Kozad, and the special, you was like, tighten your chin strap, man. You're getting ready to get out of control.
You had to go.
Yeah, you got to go, man. And at first, you didn't really want to dance that fast, but when the song was over, he's like,
Go.
Shit,
One
man,
more.
I'm pumped up, man. One more. Yeah, so it's a lot of good drum groups, And as a dancer, they tell us, you got to dance whatever they sing.
Yeah.
And you can't get mad, And
Yeah.
so always had that philosophy is, whatever you sing, I'll give her all I got.
Well, and a lot of times too, nowadays I've seen in one powwow after another for several years now that dancers dance a certain style, and it's the way that they were initiated, it's the way they were taught, and grandpa may have taught them that way, a grandma may have taught them that way, and it's their style. But now people feel maybe a little freedom to disrespect a dancer or even a singer, but specifically dancers. A word will come out one weekend and it will disparage that dancer. Why does he dance like that? Why is he dancing like that in grass and stuff? And then it'll go away, and then 2 weeks later, same thing will come up. Somebody else will say it, and then all of a sudden more people chime in and disrespect that dancer. And to me, that's disrespectful, and that shouldn't be a part of our societies. And at no time was I ever disrespected, talked down to, degraded, demeaned at any time in the arena or outside the arena. There was always that respect, and you gave each other space to dance, and the drummers and the singers had their space to sing them songs. And so I really feel like we need to get back to that, where the dancers have respect for the singers and vice versa, but the dancers have respect for the other dancers from whatever tribe they came from, whatever teachings they came from, whatever initiation they had. Have respect for it. Don't just think bad of the other person because they beat you last weekend. you know, things like that. So I see that now.
Mhm.
I wish I knew a way to fix it. But,
Yeah.
but there's disrespect in the
Yeah.
arena that I see. You know? Yeah. So.
I got a question for
Yeah.
you. So, a long time ago, when you were talking about the trick songs, or not really trick songs, but they were made that way, right? What do you think about nowadays? How the trick songs have definitely changed and become more aggressive?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then the feedback that when the dancers get bucked off, you know, and the the things they say about the drum group because they got bucked off. Because a long time ago, it used to be what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's I can see both sides of that there, nephew, and that's a good question. I'm kind of old school, you know. I'll be 65 next week, and it goes back to I'll dance to whatever you sing, you know. If you sing something, I'm gonna give it a heck, and it goes back to that story my late father told me that they work together, the drum and the dancer. The dancer, he depends on the drum. And that drum, he wants to sing good for that dancer. And then when it's that way, brother, like you said, you don't get tired. And then it's like a rodeo, my late father told me. When a drum sings a good song, makes the dancer look good. Dancer's dancing good, makes the drum look good. Then the audience, reaps the benefit, And but talking about trick songs, of course, we had them back in the day. And they've always been here. And on one side of it, I can see, where people gets mad, oh, these guys, they just made that song up coming over here, and stuff like that, and I can see that part, some people might say, well, we're having a special, it's not a trick song special, and then on the other hand, you have to do your homework like anything else. You gotta be dedicated to that. If you're gonna go out there and fancy dance or grass dance or straight dance or traditional dance, then you need to do your homework at home during the week. Besides training, you got to listen to the music. Even nowadays it's easy to get a hold of somebody. If you hear a song last week, hey, I can't remember how that song stopped. Call one of those singers, or text them, and, hey, send me that song, So on the flip side of that, there, nephew, I can see, well, you got to do your homework. You got to put your work in. And,
also, RG, back in the day, trick songs for us had a tail.
Mhm.
But the tail happened sometimes with the lead, but always every verse had a tail. So you learned those songs because of how they were and the rhythm of those songs and when they stopped. But you had it every verse. Sometimes these aggressive trick songs nowadays, the first lead might have that trick stop, but the second lead, when everybody picks that verse lead up, doesn't have it. The first verse doesn't have the stop. The second lead might, and then they might have that trick stop, but it might be different than the stop at the end. And so back in the day, we used to learn those songs, even on the fly. If there were a new song, each verse had the same stop, even though it was a trick song. But so you really had to be attuned to the song and listen to it while you're dancing. But that comes with experience, that comes with dancing. And again, when you're marrying a song with your dance style, if it carries me, I don't care if I stopped on time. Most times I might stop right on time because I'm singing the song too while I'm dancing, but sometimes I'm not, and I might step over, but I'm not shy about, hey, I misstep. I didn't know that song. Was maybe the first or second time I heard it, but again, I'd rather go for that spiritual experience for me. And if I don't place, I don't get upset about it, things like that. But that's just me, But the trick songs nowadays, I do find that they're different, and sometimes they evolve. The trick song last weekend was like that. I learned it. Then this weekend it's different. It stopped 2 beats later or 2 beats earlier. And I think that's what you're saying about the aggressiveness of these trick songs, is that once you make a song a certain way, that's how it's sung for the next 10 years. It shouldn't be changing every week, things like that. But that's just from me, what I see. So,
and there's a song, and I have to have Ab teach it to me, that the boys sing. And it's got like 2 leads that are Southern, and like the 3rd lead and the 4th lead kicks to Northern.
Wicked.
Man, that's a wicked song, man.
Wicked.
Yeah. I could just,
But
I could just see myself, like.
The beauty of
Oh, you
that.
did? Oh, that's a wicked song.
The
man.
beauty of those songs, though, that the boys sing is they sing it the same every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And once, like at Durant one time, they sang it. I was off. I missed that stop. I didn't plan on placing, but the second year I heard it,
Yeah.
I wasn't getting bucked off. I had nailed that song, and I felt so good just nailing it.
What you're talking about, just for a second, we had a girl like the way we do that. Her name was Danelle Stanley, and we were in Washington singing, and we sang this song different from the very first time we sang it. We didn't stop. We just kind of went through. And she came over and she missed that song in a special, and she goes, "Hey, you guys didn't sing that like that last time. I learned it." So ever since we do that, once we sing it that way, we will sing it.
Sing the same.
Every
Yeah.
single time, because then if the dancers are doing their homework, we want them to be able to get them stopped.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's exactly right what you said. Sing it.
Yeah.
It's made
Yeah.
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching Powwow last weekend, and we stayed home second time all weekend. And dang, they sang some old, man, like 70s and 80s, songs that, had short stops, Shit, they sounded good, man. I told my wife, man, I said, shit, I know that one. And then group number 2, come on out. And they sing another, I know that one. Oh, shoot. And I was like, damn, man, they're going back to the 80s, And they're like, shit, man, back when I had about 6 surgeries ago, man. Shit, my knees were good, boy.
And that's right.
Yeah. And then we got to see the 96 video there, Red Earth, the men's fancy. And my wife said, let's watch that one. I said, I don't know, man. So, kind of like you don't like to watch yourself sometime, you know. Everybody else sees the good part, but, I see the stuff, I could have done better.
I could have done better. Yep.
Yeah.
You critique yourself.
Yeah, critique, yeah. And so we watched it, and I danced to, I think it was Whitefish Juniors and then Kozad.
Yeah.
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 And man, I was like, and she said, man, Papa, you could really go back then. I said, shoot, that's about 6 surgeries ago. I said, yeah, man, 40 years and 6 knee surgeries ago.
But
Gee.
isn't there something about live, though, like you see it and you witnessed it and it's not recorded, and the live experience. Now, two times, and it stays in my mind. And one was the Midnight Fancy Dance Special at Gathering of Nations, and it was down to the late Spike Draper and Isaiah Bob, and they hit every stop, and they hit every stop, and they hit every stop, and the crowd just kept getting giddy and more energy. And then the second time was when North Bear and Jermaine Bell and those guys harmonized that Daddy's Girl song at Gathering, and you just had to be there.
Yeah.
And it's just something. The first verse, you're like, what is this? And then the second verse, it just moved you. And if you let that music just move you, the crowd just roared.
Yeah.
There's something about live, and we live for that. Because when you watch it again, it's not the same.
Yeah.
You watch it a third time, and it's not the same, And so being there, and I think that's what we keep going.
Mm-hmm.
We keep traveling. We keep driving to Florida or to California or North Dakota because we're gonna experience something.
Yeah.
And we keep searching for it. It's like the Holy Grail for us.
Yeah.
And we're happy, and then it fulfills us for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
But then if it happens back to back, you're like, whoa.
Yep.
Yeah.
As a dancer, that's what we look for, and that's what we're talking about, in the spotlight.
Yeah.
We want that feeling when you're in the spotlight. You have to be by yourself, and there's ain't nobody. It's not a team sport. Nobody's gonna call a timeout and bail you out. Let me dance where you are. So y'all come in and finish the song. Like,
I'll tap you in. Yeah, I'll tap you in.
Sit down, brother. And you got to do it. You can fail or you can be successful. And that's the fine line that we walk. As dancers, and that's what we strive for, man. Is that that high? It's a high. Adrenaline.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's nothing like being there. And I'll always remember that night, and I'll always remember that I was so excited that I was in the bathroom, throwing up. I'm not going to lie. I was that nervous and excited, and man, I was like a racehorse, man, my muscles, and then they said, RG Harris, come on, and I got out there, and man, I was standing there, and I was like, shit, I don't know about job, but I'm ready, shit. And, and that's what you're talking about, that's what we like,
Yeah.
It's hard to explain,
Yeah.
And we we want that live feeling, you know.
Yeah.
But it's evolved like everything else, you know, powwows and how they're run, you know, and we can agree with them or we can not agree with them, and I always go back to, you know, the arena directors are the boss, you know,
Yeah.
and the MC. I always tell people, I'm just an announcer,
Yeah.
you know, I have no power, you know. I only always make a joke out of it, but I tell people, you know, I'm just doing what I'm told. The arena directors tell me something, then I announce it. I said,
Yeah.
I've been married 40 years. I'm used to being told what to do.
Yeah.
You know? So arena
So
directors
true.
don't feel bad about telling me what to do because my wife does it every day. You know?
I was trained arena director to prepare that arena as you would inside a teepee. And the way you keep the grounds clean, respectful, everybody can dance, everybody can sing, is the same way we run our meetings overnight for our families and who we pray for. And so for me, arena directing is keeping that circle open and fair for everybody to participate, you know, and running a schedule, yes, but keeping that arena so there's harmony there. And so, and sometimes it's hard, especially when somebody's, you know, talking in one ear or talking in the other ear, and you got to make sense of it, you know, things like that. But I remember, you know, when a feather drops, you know, that's a hard time for everybody, especially the veterans, because they look at as that's a fallen veteran for them when a feather drops. And so every tribe does it different, you know, and in Oklahoma I see it different, in North Dakota I see it different, Canada to Utah, everybody does it different, you know. Some tribes, they charge it and they pick it up that way. Some people, you know, it's a veteran that goes down and picks it up with a fan or with tobacco, and in some tribes, because the feathers belong to that individual, to allow them to pick that up, you know, things like that. But it's up to the arena directors, what I would say. So dancers and singers, MCs, you know, respect that arena director. However he was trained to run that arena, respect that, and just talk to that arena director. If you're unsure about how things are done, talk to that arena director, and he'll come over and help you take care of it the way it was supposed to be taken care of, you know, things like that. So, and when you drop something, either a bustle, headdress, feather, anything, it might have been meant to be, you know, and maybe somebody's fallen overseas or somebody's sick, you know, and by picking it up the right way, you know, you can heal them too in that regard. So, but every tribe does it different, and you got to respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that brings us right back to respect again, huh, brother?
Yeah.
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 And I watch powwows, and then I see MCs, you know, and different ones, head staff, and to me, you know, it's like, shoot, I got knee surgery scars older than those guys, you know, and you hear them talking, you know, and kind of, you know, like they've been, you know, like us, you know, we've done 1 million miles on the highway, you know, driving. You know, we didn't fly back in our day, and we drove, and when we were a whole strum, you know, we might get 300, 400, 500, and we used to ask them, well, you got rooms for us or anything? They said, yeah, we'll rope you off a camping spot, you know. And I was like, oh, well,
Right.
yeah, that's how we'll do it. We'll get rations, you know. We'll be
Yeah.
all right, you know. And when you travel, you know, you guys know how it is as drum groups, you know. You got to have a couple of guys that are good drivers, you know, could drive 10, 12 hours. And, and you got to have one guy, you know, he's like the maintenance man, you know, that gets out and sets up the PA system back in our day, you know. And you got to have that one guy that's a good cook, you know, and that way when rations, you know, he's there to cook for everybody. And then one guy's a good mechanic. You know, that's the way we were, you know, back in the day.
I remember Stony Park coming to a powwow, and they'd bring their 3/4 ton truck with all those speakers, and they would full, you know, the songs that they sang, how Coleman, the late Coleman Beaver, how his voice would carry, trick songs galore. I used Stony Park for a special for my daughter Paula, for a trick song special, and all the girls were getting those songs because of the fancy shawl special, you know, things like that. And but it was super hot too, but I don't think the girls got tired because those songs would carry them. It was Midnight Express that helped us. It was Stony Park that helped us, you know, and I honored my daughter that way with all them songs. But I remember they came and created a concert feeling, you know, things like that. But brought energy, you know. Anymore when I dance anymore, it's like I feel like I want to give a lot of energy because I want somebody in a wheelchair to feel that energy. I want somebody with a cane to feel that energy, like they could walk or maybe even dance a step,
Exactly,
you know,
yeah.
things like that. So that energy to me is so important, that it be positive, that it be reinforcing, that it be healthy, you know, and in balance, you know, things like that. So when people come up to you and say, hey, I really enjoyed that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and that's a win right
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So I like
Yeah.
that.
Real quick, speaking about Stony Park, you know, and, they came down here back in the late '80s. Lake Coleman and the family, and the mom and dad was with them, and they came over to my wife's parents' home there in Apache, Oklahoma. And we had the opportunity to pray for them, you know, and they got healed up, you might say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And later on that summer, you know, we met up in Rocky Boy, and could have been back in '87, '88 maybe. And like you say, well, they pulled that back their trailer up, you know, and man, they got about 20 speakers out, you know, and down there was hooking everything up. They even had a wire hanging down, you know, it had a little light bulb, you know, that lit up at nighttime. And dang, Rose Hill, dang, we pulled up, and we had one little horn, you know, about this big.
Mega horn.
Yeah, a little beat up, dented up horn. God, we felt embarrassed, you know. We were sitting next to Stony Park, you know. Dang, that horn sounded good, though. Shit, we made some music, brother.
Oh,
Shit,
when
man.
Mr. Gwynn would throw that lead out there, and you guys followed him, man, it sounded beautiful every single
Yeah,
time.
Lloyd was dang.
Yeah.
Voice was grinding.
Yo.
Dang, we were right there behind him, you know.
Yeah.
Last thing that I would ask, just from each one of you guys, you can answer shortly, but what constitutes a good powwow to you from compared to how you guys talked about it long ago to today? You know, maybe real kind of a couple of little good answers, and then you know, what could you tell to some of the youth about some of the violence that's been going on at some of these celebrations? You know, you've got the incident that happened in Pine Ridge. You've got bear mace going on in Canada when there's elders. What that was that around then?
No, that wasn't around when we were growing up, you know, and we were powwowing in, you know, in the 70s and 80s and 90s. You know, I think it, like Brother said earlier, I wish there was a remedy, you know, that we could, you know, wish there was a pill or something we could take or something, you know, and cure it overnight. But I don't know. I think it, in my opinion, it goes back to what we were talking about all this time. It seemed like we talk about something and then we go back and touch on the respect, you know, and I think a lot of kids, it's not their fault maybe that, you know, maybe they weren't taught that respect, you know, like we were. And speaking for myself, you know, my grandparents were a big influence on me growing up. And so that's like 2 generations back of teachings. I always tell people, and I learned from them. And whenever we had ceremonies at home, and guys my age, you know, they'd say, all right, we're getting ready to start the feast, you know, and dang, they'd all take off and go run and go play. And I'd get up to go with them, and they'd always tell me, you know, in our language, you know, hey, Paishik, that's my Indian name, Paishik, you know, Akwe, you know, Chitapino. No, you know, you sit down, you know. I was like, you know, at the time I was thinking, damn, I'm missing out, man. Shit, I want to go play with the boys, you know, shit. Listen to these guys. But they were teaching me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So I had to listen to the stories. I had to listen to why we do things. Had to listen to why we have feasts, you know, and what they mean.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, you know, I thanked them. You know, even though they were gone, you know, I was thankful for the elders that they instilled that respect, you know. And of course, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, you know. I'm not perfect. But I think that's what it is, you know. I think we're not getting taught respect at home.
I was raised by my grandma, and grew up in a hogan, no running water, no electricity.
Oh, wow.
And we had to build our own fires. We had to bring our own water, you know. So I slept on a sheepskin when I was growing up. We were herding sheep or taking care of the lambs inside the hogan with us during the winter times, just to have them survive. But my grandma took me to ceremonies. She taught me Navajo. My first language was Navajo. I pray in my language. But she took me to ceremonies. So I had a lot of respect for my grandma, a lot of love for her, but by extension, my language, my culture. And we were taught harmony and balance, and to walk gently, to take care of everything, to be gentle with life, not to stab into a watermelon, but to cut into a watermelon, be respectful of life, living things, things like that. And so that was my teachings. When I came to the University of Iowa, we ran the University of Iowa Powwow for 10 years, my wife and I and the student group there. And you would see the students, the young dancers that would fight. It would be because of tribalism, Meskwakis would fight with Ho-Chunks, or different tribes would fight against one another because of tribal pride. But also there were parties that would happen, and we had rooms that were damaged and things like that. And it was certain drums that would do that, and we would have to pay for it as a student group after the fact, even though we had insurance. And it would give us a black eye, but a lot of it had to do with alcohol abuse and not so much drug abuse. But anymore nowadays, it seems like there's more and more abuse. Whether it be at home, domestic violence, or incest, but there's not the teachings there that come with that. Broken homes maybe, but now you add alcohol, now you add the drugs, and now they're laced with fentanyl, things like that. We're losing our kids to no Narcan being available. You give a hit of Narcan, you can save that kid's life, but even just a small scrape of fentanyl on the skin can kill a person, things like that. And so I think we just have to have knowledge, and first aid is very important, and having a medical staff, EMT staff that's ready with their defibrillators, with Narcan, with IVs, things like that. Ultimately, as powwow organizers, you have to look at those things and start preparing for it. Weapons came, and there was a shooting in Pine Ridge, and we heard the gunshots during that song. And everybody ran. I had family members. My sister was ducked in a pole right in front of the shooting in the arena in her buckskin dress. And it shook her. But as soon as the gunshots, she ran away from where it happened, But I had a niece there too that did the same thing. She was running across the arena. And I just felt my heart sank because now we're seeing the violence. Now we're seeing, back in the day, we had teenagers fighting each other with bustles on in the arena. They were throwing chairs against each other into eagle bustles, trying to break the other person's eagle bustles, things like that. There was a famous director of a big powwow in Albuquerque come after a head judge where his wife didn't place, so went after this lady at Oneida powwow and ripped her buckskin dress in the arena. And he and his wife got escorted out of Oneida, and they were told never to come to that powwow ever again. So I've witnessed violence even back in the day, in the 90s, 2000s. It's gotten to be where now it's fentanyl, it's the death, it's gun violence, and bringing that forward. And I don't know what the answer is. I know for me, it was my grandma. I was grounded in my cultural teachings. I was grounded in my career. I walked two worlds. I understood that. And maybe people don't realize where they're walking. Is it white world? Is it native world? Is it both worlds? Is it a drug world? Is it an alcohol world? Is it abuse, incest? What kind of world are we walking in? And we're not understanding it. And as parents, my parents were boarding school parents, and my mom lost her language in a boarding school, and I had to learn it from my grandma. And then for me, I imparted that to my kids, a lot of those teachings from my grandma. But a lot of parents from boarding school years, they've lost their culture, they've lost their language, and I'm wondering if we're losing a whole nother generation of our youth because there's not the teachings there. It's deep thoughts. It's very it's something that needs to be discussed and talked about a little bit more, but I don't have an answer. I'm just thinking out loud, and so I'd love to have more discussion on this, because in Indian country, it's small. We have relatives in every corner of Canada to U.S. that we can talk to, and really they might have the same experience, things like that. But I do find that there was violence back in the day, and there's violence now. It's just that now people are dying. I didn't see death back in the day. I see it more now. So yeah, it's a very good question, and I don't know that I have an answer. Yeah.
That's on that part. How do you get people together? How do you get people to come together? And jokingly, I was thinking, we'll have a big powwow with about 5,000 for first place, and then everybody be there. But something like that. We don't want to come together and talk about it. And the same way with my late mother, she's boarding school, and never went to public school, and so I heard them kind of stories.
Yeah.
And but speaking about powwows, what do I look for, or why do I choose a certain powwow or this or that? And it's kind of bad, First of all, as a dancer, I look at the I ain't gonna lie, I look at the prize money.
Yeah.
And I look at the age split, and are the old guys, are they splitting us up there, and is the money good? Then you got to look at the arena director.
Yeah.
You got to look at the arena director, and are you going to get a fair shot? And that's what I always tried to do when I was arena director, is give everybody a fair shot. That's all you ask for.
Yeah.
Give them a fair shot, don't be, I had one uncle say, don't be five-ing around, just because,
Yeah.
your buddies over here, and picking, judges, they're going to go with him, because, y'all was, here last week together, you had a birthday dinner together, or that kind of stuff, You know how it is, people don't say it's not like that, but it is,
Yeah.
And I always look at arena director and give me a fair shot,
Yeah.
That's all I ask, You give me a fair shot, I'm gonna dance hard, beat them guys.
That's right.
Because and then of course, last of all, your host drums. I look at host drums, because when you get to the finals, they're gonna say, well, second song we'll go back to our host drum.
That's right.
So you're gonna get at least one really good song.
Yeah.
So I always look at which drums are gonna be there and who's the invited drums, because that's what you're there for. You're there to dance.
Yeah.
And you want to dance to the good drums.
I think back in the day, the head staff wasn't so important in terms of MC or arena director. I wanted quality, but you didn't always have it.
Yeah.
But for me, it was head man, head woman, and the specials. Not only the prize money and the payouts and the age splits, and then they never split golden age back in the day. That's a new phenomenon now. Now that I'm in golden age, I look for age split. But there's that.
Hey,
age split. But also specials. And boy, we'd have 2 or 3 specials that we could dance to. And so if there were 3 grass specials, guess where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter who was the head staff so much as there were 3 grass specials that I could dance in. Yeah, 3 more chances. And so
good.
that was. But nowadays, to me, it's who's the arena director? Was the committee fair last year, and then the drums, who's going to carry us. The MC is not as important, although I do like an MC that's fair, that doesn't single a person out, that will keep the program going and tell some jokes. I want to smile and laugh between songs.
Yeah.
And I need somebody to keep that going, to keep the vibe going and keep that harmony, things like that. But the AD, I think, is who I look for.
Yeah.
And then the specials. But there's not as many specials anymore to look forward to. So
that's another thing, too, real quick, the Golden Age, they don't split us up. I think it's, we've danced and put our time in, I think we should be rewarded with a category split, But,
and then
now we're golden tiny tots.
And what age do you split? My mom was 70 and over at one time, and she was dancing against 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then, but when she was 60, she liked it that the age split was 55 and over. So it depends on your age when you like that age split for golden age. And I think a lot of people are doing 60 and over or 55 and over anymore. But the problem is that all the men are together in one song, all the women are together in one song, and there's no splitting, So I do look for category splits in golden age anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right, brother. All right. Hey, if you guys are ever around Choctaw, Oklahoma, go over and see Choctaw Archery. Go there and talk to Haskell Smith, one of our sponsors there, located in Choctaw, Oklahoma, 405-281-5885. Tell them we sent you. Yep. All right, brother. I want to thank you again for coming over and being on our show here. And you're the perfect person to be here. And we wanted to originally focus on dancers and being in the spotlight. But as Everett and we were talking about, there's all different kind of spotlights.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we want to showcase people that's, not only dancing, but like yourself, being a doctor, being a surgeon, going through all that education, and all them years putting it in, and your education and sacrificing your time,
Yeah.
and not getting to go here or not getting to go there, but it's paying off now, brother.
Yeah.
So if you got anything to close out there, help us out with some closing.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for having me. I wasn't sure what to expect. You made it easy. It's like we're just talking in a living room right now, so I like that so much. But I just want to say, our nonprofit is Healing the Spirit Productions. You can go to healingthespiritpro.org. And we have some mission statements there, some value statements there that we have. It is a true Native nonprofit. We run the nonprofit, the Native communities, and it's the QR code is right there, just right above my left shoulder, and so you can look at us there. And we will run a second round dance in Lawton, Oklahoma. And we want to do men's health programming. We want to do golf tournaments, youth golf camps, lacrosse camps. We want to do a bow shoot for the youth and teach them how to bow shoot. Columbia River has asked us to help them with fishing with the youth up there in Columbia in the Northwest Territory or Northwest part of the U.S. Everybody has a different niche, and so we want to fit the bill for that. But men's health, not only is it cancer screening, but it's also just general health screening. And the one thing I would say is that diabetes is rampant, obesity is rampant. You want to address those in your 30s, not your 40s. So do it about a decade earlier. And once you find a doctor you like, make an appointment once a year, maybe twice a year, and go in and see that doctor. Have that special relationship with that doctor where they will take care of you and pick things up early, things like that. But thank you for the time tonight. And RG,
right,
thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you again.
Yeah.
And like real quick, what we went through here back in December, with my wife, and the health wise, and just felt like there was nobody I could call, And then I just called you one day and told you, hey, brother, this is what's going on in my life, my wife and health problems. And I always say, I have a hard time reading something or learning something by reading. But if you show me one time, man, I'll remember it the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And then that's why I called, and I knew you was a doctor. And then everything they told me, I relayed it to you, and then you relayed it back to me. And it's almost like they told me in Indian, and I told you in Indian, and you came back and told me in English. And it was, okay, yeah, that's what they're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, so I want to thank you, for
You're welcome.
relaying all that doctor information, language, back
Yeah.
to me where I could understand it.
Absolutely.
What was going on with my wife,
Yeah.
And we're just glad she's here tonight, real quick, and it's her birthday, and she's 19. And, she's still here,
Yes.
and that's a blessing.
That's a blessing. Happy birthday, Joyce.
Yeah, happy
we love
birthday.
you.
Yeah.
And even though you went through an illness and a sickness, you made it through, and we treasure that you're here with us.
Yeah, thank you there, brother.
Mhm.
All right. With that being said, I want to thank everybody once again for tuning in and being a part of us. Like and describe, in the spotlight with RG. And I hope we brought something a little different. I hope we brought a little different way of being in the spotlight. And it's not all powwow, It's not all this, not all that. But we're proud to say there's Indian people, the native people that's not only dancing, but out there with other occupations, like my brother here, doctors and surgeons, and then hopefully later on we can bring some other people on with other different occupations, and we'll visit with them. And but we had a good time tonight. Thank you once again, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Right
brother.
on.
Yep.
And we're glad everybody tuned in tonight. So Indian Country, want to say thank you once again. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.